All right, so today we're going to work on converting mixed numbers into improper fractions, as well as switching back, so from improper fractions into a mixed number. Before we begin, let's remember that a mixed number has a combination of both a whole number and a proper fraction, right? So a whole number, and then it has a proper fraction. If it's an improper fraction, it actually is not a, sorry, there you go. It's not a mixed number. So let's begin with an example of a mixed number. Let's start with a number like 2 and 2/3. And notice how I said that. Even when I said this number, right, I said 2 and 2/3. Well, in math, and especially when we get towards word problems, remember that the word "and" actually has another meaning, and that word is addition. So we see the word "and" when we have addition. For example, 2 and 2 equals 4. The "and" means to add. So why does that help us? Well, it helps us when we are converting from a mixed number to an improper fraction. An improper fraction, we should recall as well, this is when the numerator is larger than the denominator, okay? So for example, we might have 3/2, where the numerator is larger than the denominator, okay? So once I know that the word "and" means addition, I can separate this equation. I can say 2, and let's do it in a different color. I can say the number 2 plus 2/3. Well, that doesn't seem to help us very much at this time until we remember that any number divided by 1 is itself. And we talked about this in the past. If I have, for example, 2 over 1, there were many ways we can say this, right? So definitely 2 over 1. I could say 2 out of 1. And I can even say 2 divided by 1. Okay, so why does that help? Well, because 2 divided by 1, anything divided by the value of 1 is itself. And I like to do that because then I can easily see that I'm comparing two quote-unquote fractions. In the last video, when we were talking about adding and subtracting fractions, we said we can use the butterfly method, right? A really quick way to solve it. So I can go this way, and I'm going to get 6. I can go this way, I'm going to get 2. And the denominators will be 3. And why was that important? Well, because before I can add any values, I must have common denominators. Now my common denominators are in fact 3, and I can add it up. So this will equal to 8 over 3, or 8/3. Okay, so a really fun way of looking at a number and converting it into an improper fraction. If you wanted to practice with more of these, we can just look at one more example. Let's go with 1 1/3. Same idea, we can convert this into two separate equations. So I have 1 plus 1 over 3. Well, any number divided by itself, 1 divided by 1 is still 1. And then I can change it. And I'll go the other way again. So common denominators is 3, because I see 1 and 3 are the same. How did I get the 3 to become a 3? Well, I multiplied by 3 on both the numerator and denominator. So 3 over 3 still equals to 1. And the 1/3 doesn't change. I actually just multiplied everything by 1 there. So once again, as an improper fraction, I'll get 4/3. So there's my final answer. Okay. So the next question then is, once I have a improper fraction, let's say I start with an improper fraction. Let's say I start with 8 over 3. Okay. How do I change that into a mixed number? Well, there's a couple ways of doing this, and I think the fastest way is to remember that we are actually dividing. So just like we have over here, 2 divided by 1, or 2 over 1 is 2 divided by 1, we would read this as 8 divided by 3. And we kind of learned about the long division already, so we're going to take our 8 and we're going to divide it by 3. We can ask ourselves, how many times will 8 go into 3? We know it goes into it 2 times, so 2 times 3, we multiply, we get 6. We're going to subtract. We have a 2 remainder. And in the past, we would leave it as a remainder, but today, actually, what we're learning is that with the remainder and the divisor, that's what this is called, this is the divisor, and our quotient is our answer, we can combine all of these together, so our quotient is our answer. What is remaining is 2 parts of what is the whole, in 1 is the divisor, that's what we're dividing by, so 2 2/3. So we can divide, and that of course will help us to get to the same answer. And we can see that's true here. So it started with 2 2/3, we finished with 2 2/3. When we converted it from 2 2/3 to an improper fraction, we got 8/3. We started with 8/3, 8 divided by 3, and sure enough, it kind of mixes and works together. All right, go ahead and give this one a try and see if you can get the same answer as what we started with up here with the 1 1/3. All right, practice it, post questions. I'll be happy to answer them in the comments or in class.